Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please.
Director Quady. Director McMillan.
Here.
Director Pacala.
Yes.
Director Robert is absent. Director Avila.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. Okay, first up is public comments. We have members of the public in attendance.
We do online.
We do online. Okay, this portion of the agenda may be utilized by any member of the public to address the board of directors on any matter within the jurisdiction of the board that does not appear on the agenda and on matters that are on the agenda but are not designated as action items. Depending on the subject matter, the board of directors may be unable to respond at this time or until the specific topic is placed on the agenda at a future Calleguas board meeting. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, please limit remarks to 3 minutes. Please raise your hand on the call if you would like to make public comment. Okay.
I see no raised hands.
No raised hands. Thank you. Okay, do we have items to be added to the agenda?
No item.
No items to be added to the agenda. Has the board had time to review the agenda?
Yes.
Yes. Any issues that you'd like to bring up, or are we good to go? Good to go. Okay, no presentations tonight.
Correct.
First item for consent calendar is just the minutes. Has everybody had time to review the minutes?
Move to approve. I did review, but I'm going to abstain. I was not present.
Okay, I'll do the second. We have a first and a second for the minutes. Please.
Director Quady. Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Public.
We have one thing.
That's right.
Do we have any members of the public who would like to comment on the consent calendar in the minutes?
There are no raised hands.
We have no raised hands. We have first and second. Roll call, please.
Director Quady.
Aye.
Director McMillan.
Yes.
Director Pacala.
Abstain.
Director
Robert is absent. Director Avila.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay. We do not have an action item today. And up next is reports. First up is the monthly status report.
Yes, staff is, well, so go ahead and take care of the highlights here. As you can see on the front page, we've got the cover, a photo of the interns. We can go to the next highlight. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to kick us off with a little bit of a summary of the advocacy visits that Director McMillan and Principal Water Resource Specialist Jen Vasquez and I conducted in Sacramento. Charlotte was unfortunately ill and wasn't able to join us, but she was heavily involved in the planning so that everything was ready to go when I flew up on a 1 day's notice. This was a joint effort with Las Virgenes and Camarosa. Las Virgenes had a couple of board head, both directors Lewitt and Kordeshi, as well as their GM Dave Peterson present. And Camarosa sent Natalie, who is, I think, a water resources coordinator. Thank you. We had meetings with Assemblymember Bennett and Irwin, as well as staff for 3 different state senators, including President Pro Tem Monique Limon. That top photo is actually with her legislative director. We focused on a couple of different issues. One was funding for water infrastructure reliability and resilience, including expediting the Prop 4 funding rollout, which has since been approved by the Assembly. It's a pretty arcane inside baseball kind of thing about Administrative Procedures Act, but that expediting did move forward, as well as to update them on our overall efforts to improve reliability and resilience, which includes the desalter study that we are hoping to undertake soon, as well as the interconnections that are both completed and in the works. We also talked quite a bit about wildfire liability concerns. That's obviously of great importance to Las Virgenes with what they've experienced over the last couple of years with both the Woolsey fire and the Palisades fire. So there is legislation that has been proposed to help address some of those wildfire liability concerns. that are making things very, very difficult for water agencies like Las Virgenes. They are facing several $1 billion in claims, most of which is from outside their service area, including claimants from Altadena. It's really staggering. They no longer can receive mail delivery because they get so many claims. They have to go pick up their own mail at the post office. So it's a pretty significant issue that they and other water agencies are struggling with, and could be an issue for anywhere in the state, depending on where the fires strike next. So it's a productive and busy couple of days. I want to thank Charlotte for all her prep work and Jen Vasquez for keeping everything running smoothly. She was the keeper of the swag that we shared with various staff who all were very, very appreciative to be recognized for that effort. So.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Great update. You have questions or comments on item?
I just had a question. Is there a new state legislation for water infrastructure and resiliency projects?
There was an expediting measure approved that will help get the Prop 4 funding out the door faster. Is there anywhere near enough funding coming from the state on the subject? Absolutely not. But we did advocate for it to the extent that we could.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Christine.
All right. Our next item will be handled by our manager of water resources, Jennifer Lancaster.
Yeah, they're Jen. Hi, good evening. I had the pleasure of being one of the speakers for AWA's WaterWise in February here in this room. And I co-presented with Wanda Moyer of the city of Simi Valley. She is the Deputy Public Works Director of Environmental Compliance. And together we talked about non-functional turf and turf transformation projects that really are funded through multiple agencies. And we focused on non-functional turf because that is the subject of AB 1572, which of course begins, the compliance period begins next January. And this basically requires any commercial, institutional, public agency who has grass, they can no longer use potable water to irrigate it. And so this is a really good opportunity to take advantage of some of the programs that we have available to public agencies so that they can get ahead of that process. So well, we've got the metropolitan turf rebates that, have been ongoing since 2016. And so that's always something that Calleguas makes available as a member agency of MET to their entire service area. And so the city of Simi Valley has taken advantage of those turf rebates multiple times, and they've done a fantastic job with many of the projects that they've done in-house, which have really, with the rebates, allowed them to do those projects essentially at no cost to them. And so that's kind of an ongoing thing. But we also have that turnkey turf transformation program that I've spoken to your board about in the past. And that is a program that we are collaborating with Inland Empire Utility Agency, Upper District in Las Virgenes to do completely cost-free to the project owner, a transformation turnkey project. So we go in, design the project for them or with their input, and then the contractor will take out their grass, put in California-friendly landscaping and irrigation, and it is all completely funded by a grant from DWR. So the city of Simi Valley has been a recipient of one of those projects, as well as the city of Oxnard and the city of Port Hueneme. So we've got projects in each of those areas in areas that they manage. So this was really kind of an idea about, again, the multi-agency partnerships. Not only is Metropolitan involved on the turf rebates, Calleguas in the past during droughts has also added our own funding to boost up those rebates and provide a supplement. And of course, Metropolitan kind of boosts those rebates whenever they can with grants that they've gotten through the Bureau of Rec as well as DWR. So there's everybody from the federal level to the state to big regional to smaller regional to local money, all being utilized as to do these projects, which is really great because this is a place where we really can save water by not using our potable water on grass areas that are just simply decorative. So it was really great to be able to speak to the group and to have everybody here for WaterWise, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great work
Thank you.
for helping us with that. Director Pacala?
Yes, as a matter of fact, item 17 on the staff report covers this. This was one of the ones I noted here. Since you're here, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So as far as the funding from Metropolitan, are they going to boost their funding since this is a new law that's going to take effect in 2027? Is health replacement projects, are they going to boost their grant funding?
Yes, in fact, they already have. So their base rebate is $2 a square foot. And they got grants from both the Bureau of Rec as well as DWR, and they were able to boost up for public agencies that and other commercial and institutional. They were able to put that at $7 a square foot, which is like the most we've ever seen. So that was incredible. And there's been an amazing outreach effort and then lots of response. So I think it went up to $7 in September. Already, all the grant funding that makes up 3 of those $7 has been used up because everybody's kind of jumped on this. And so as that grant funding gets allocated, the amount per square foot is going to go down and down. So as we talk to our public agents, and back in September when it first happened, when we would talk with our public agency partners, we were telling them, get your application in right now because you don't know how long this $7 will last. And when they put their application in and get approved, whatever amount is being offered at that moment is what they get a reservation for.
In your report, when you mentioned there's a multi-agency involvement, when you say that, is it the DWR grant that's coming through Los Virgenes and Imperial? Which multi-agencies are funding?
Yes. So if we're looking at the metropolitan turf rebates, and we've got the grants involved, then that's Bureau of Rec, DWR, and Metropolitan. And then there have been times, like I said, when Calleguas has added that money as well. So those would all be kind of a pool of funding that goes toward projects. And then Turnkey Turf Transformation is a partnership between Calleguas and 3 of the other state water project dependent areas where we all produced a grant application. IEUA, Inland Empire, they're the ones that kind of took the lead and they administer the grant. They were the recipient and then they administer it on behalf of all of the rest of the partners. And so we're able to then take the money that was allocated to us and spread that into some projects in our service area. So it really is lots of different agencies working together, both funding and just collaboration in getting that funding to the people that benefit from it.
Yeah, certainly this turf replacement program would save a lot of water. It's going to be a permanent replacement. I wonder why Calleguas stopped adding money to the program in the past. When I was working, I remember Calleguas was $2 per acre foot or so. No, per acre, I believe, whatever the measurement. There was some funding added by Calleguas. I guess my question to the general manager is, what was the reason, and did we consider adding some funds? If we didn't add, what's the reason for not adding?
I actually was not general manager at the time those decisions were made, so I don't know. I don't know if Dan or Jennifer is in a better position to respond.
Yeah, historically, it's been tied to drought. So when we're in the middle of a drought and we're really trying to get people to conserve water, in order to help kind of boost that along, that's the periods of time where we've put money in. And really, to make it worthwhile, it's a very significant investment, like $2 million is what we did last time. And so again, it's really not something that we feel that we could fund on a regular basis. But in those times where we really need to boost conservation, it has been a great tool. That being said, we do on an annual basis, we do co-fund the rebates for devices. So we add an extra $20 to high efficiency toilets, clothes washers, and soil moisture sensors and things like that. So that we do ongoing, but it is a less of an investment than the turf program, which is much larger.
Well, as most of us know, homeowners associations have large turf areas. And any additional funding will entice them to apply for the funding. Hopefully they replace it. Maybe we should consider for our next year budgets to add something. I don't know what that number should be.
Yes, we can definitely look into that.
Is that something that the board more broadly wants us to do? Because there's obviously a lot of financial pressures. So investing additional money in conservation programs that will ultimately reduce sales down the line may not be the best path forward for us at this time. So
Beat me to my comment. You know, we're not in a drought, I think people enjoy their lawns, and if they want to enjoy them, that helps pay our operational costs and it keeps us from increasing our prices when we're not necessarily in a place where we just now.
Yeah. Well, my thought process is the homeowners association should be targeted. There's a lot of lawns, and any additional funding for them would help them to maybe apply for funding and get some funding. I understand the pressures. Most of the other purveyors are also helping. I believe Metropolitan is helping. And it's our contribution towards conservation. I understand the board has to decide, but those are my comments.
might I suggest then what we come back to the board with is a summary of the current programs in terms of what Met's offering and in terms of what our retailers are offering, so you can get a better sense of the lay of the lawn, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is good, I thought. Look for grant funding. So, if there's a good grant opportunity that we can apply for and then use that as a supplement, then that would be really helpful. And again, that's what Metropolitan does to try to boost up their own baseline rebate.
And any help we can provide, the homeowners associations.
Right. We'll look into that. Thank you.
Well, and I will piggyback on Director McCall's comment about homeowners association, because I see that as being kind of out of what we generally consider. It always seems to be city applied grants, you have to work through the city to get something done. So homeowner associations seem to be out, and I also think that no amount of conservation money is ever enough, right? So it seems to me that Calleguas has a good history of trying to be in there. I know while Eric Bird was here, it was a lot of money. We did the millions in order to get things going. So there's a history. Calleguas is interested.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought this up is they're required in 2027 to do this. Homeowners association will be required. That's
Yes.
the reason I brought it up.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll come back with some data.
Yes.
Oh, Dan has more to add.
One of the reasons we stopped doing it was because it's a very expensive program. We were pulling from reserves, and typically you're pulling from reserves at a time where you're pulling from reserves to actually fund the operations already. We got down to a 1.26 debt service coverage because we were adding all this money to the conservation program to do this turf rebate. So we had to really watch what we were doing because we were really putting a drain on our reserves at that time.
We're financially very healthy now.
We are, but our reserves and our operating are still low from the last drought, and we're only starting to work on building them up. We haven't even this is like the first year that we're
And you
doing it.
we need another drought to exacerbate that problem. And if we're, doing drought conservation now, when that drought hits, that problem's gonna get exacerbated even more.
And we were really doing it as an incentive to meet those goals that we needed to meet to get to that conservation level at the time.
All right, thank you.
But we will come back with some data for the board at a future board meeting and we can discuss further. Sure.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. It looks like the next one up is Fernando.
Yes.
Working together for a safer way out.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Speaking of HOAs, it's the perfect segue. I'm happy to report I had a productive meeting with the Wood Ranch Community Homeowners Association last week to discuss the emergency access road project. Back in October, we had a community workshop with the community at Wood Ranch. The HOA representatives weren't there, so this was an opportunity to explain the project, the need for the project, and also tour the Lake Bard water filtration plant. Interestingly, the president of the board actually came with a map, full-size map of the development, and he was excited to show that there is an existing easement between our property and the Arvada cul-de-sac where we're looking to potentially put an emergency access.
Meaning we granted them an easement.
We apparently granted them an easement according to that map. So we are looking to pull a preliminary title report to get that information. And it certainly does explain, if you've gone out there to the cul-de-sac, the retaining wall is actually offset from the property line and the rest of the perimeter fencing. So the easement was granted to the developer to, I think it's a 15-foot wide easement for landscaping. And that explains why the two houses at the end of that cul-de-sac are pretty much up against the property line. And my assertion is probably that the setbacks were necessary, the easement was necessary to meet the setbacks to construct those two homes. So it was very productive. The board members were very appreciative of the opportunity to tour the facility, understand the need for the project, and didn't see any concerns on their end, and were pretty understanding of the need for the project. And that is my update, and happy to take any questions.
Wow, that's very, very interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting outcomes. Questions?
No.
Comments? Director, anything?
Excellent. Thank you.
Next up, we have Matt Gomez, our Assistant Manager of O&M, to talk about the end of the shutdown season.
Finally. Good evening. Yeah, so as we've talked about before, there was 3 phases for the metropolitan shutdown, beginning back in December of 2025 on December 15th, which our operations department put the treatment plant, Lake Bard Water Filtration Plant, online. We'll just do a little recap of what Metropolitan did on their side, and then we'll talk about Calleguas' side. So December 15th to the 21st, Metropolitan did their first shutdown, which was a zero flow. January 19th to the 21st was a West Valley feeder shutdown on Metropolitan's pipeline. And that was for a pipeline inspection. So that was intermittent flow. And then the last one, February 17th to the 23rd, was kind of the wrap up. It completed all the repairs and items that they found that needed to be repaired, completed. So Lake Bard Water Filtration Plant operated from early December through the end of February, which was about 77 total days of operation. And then the well field, Las Posas Basin, was operated during the shutdown to supplement the flows when we were at a zero flow. And then both facilities have now been shut down, which would be Lake Bard and Las Posas Basin. And then we're going to perform maintenance during the off season. And then although it was a quick update, I do want to recognize the operations and maintenance department with these 3 different shutdowns. It wasn't just a 7 to 4:30. So staff had to come in at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. for the zero flow shutdown. So it's physically going out to East Portal, isolating, coordinating with Metropolitan, Eagle Rock, and our operations department. And that was for each individual shutdown. Even though the duration was 12 to 13 days per, it was still a lot of personnel power to make that happen on our side of things. So I do want to give them a shout out. And despite all the intermittent flows, zero flows, the 3 different phases, we successfully completed it with really no questions. So nobody knew that Lake Bard Water Filtration Plant was on besides us. And the well field was in operation to supply supplemental flows during the operation.
Pretty incredible. Very, very, very good work. And
Great job.
that commitment to the job, showing up at 2 a.m. and, probably working pretty long hours. It's incredible. So.
And we were at the mercy of Metropolitan DWR schedule as well. There was some coordination to do, but it was really on their schedule. We accommodated and we made it work.
Do we have questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks for all involved. That's amazing.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Please extend our thanks to the staff for their commitment and work.
Will do. Thank you.
Last but not least, Tricia Ferguson, our Manager of Human Resources and Risk Management, will update us on some good news.
Yeah, I mean, the graphic really says it all. A+ gold star, a bunch of check marks. Any questions?
Thank you.
So just as a reminder, Calleguas participates in 3 of JPIA's risk pools. That's for our liability, our property liability, and our workers' comp insurance. So every year in February, our risk advisor makes a visit to our site to do this risk assessment. And the risk assessment consists of 3 parts. That's going to be a loss review, a program review, and site visits. So for us, the loss review is pretty short. This past year, we had 0 claims in our liability and property liability insurances, which is great. Then JPIA designates 3 safety-related programs to review each year. And this year it was ergonomics, the new OSHA regulations on ladder safety, and cybersecurity. So during that portion of the assessment, we share our plans, we share our training programs, and how we address each of those areas. And this year he shared with us some resources that JPIA has to complement our existing programs. And lastly, our risk advisor picked 2 sites to visit. And this year it was Landero Pump Station, which is just about to start an upgrade project, and our Lake Sherwood Pump Station, which just recently has been upgraded. So both sites met expectations with no noted issues to report. And that wrapped up our assessment. JPIA really does appreciate and value Calleguas' efforts to prioritize safety and protect our facilities. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Viva.
Well, I would just note this translates, not only is this an outstanding report card and a reflection of all the hard work of all across the district, but it does result in meaningful cost savings that we are compliant with everything Aqua JPA expects of us.
It was great initiative on our side.
Thank you, Tricia. Okay, up next, we're going back to number 1.
Oh, number 1, brackish groundwater desalt optimization study. My question is, what are the next steps before a consultant contract is approved?
The consultant needs to make some revisions to the scope. We had a really productive call with them on Monday, me, Ian, and Brian Bondi, our groundwater consultant. And we're expecting a revised scope from them by the end of the week. So we're going to do another round of review, make sure everything's all set. But we really came to agreement on everything during the discussion. So the next step after that would be bringing it to the board for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Pacala. Up next, we have item 3.
It's about MWD biannual budget, proposed water rate increases. This comment is for the finance manager. On page 3, the water rate increase for Calleguas is projected to be 4.2% based on metropolitan proposed rate increases for 2027, correct? On page 3. On page 3, item 1.
I see. So I'm not sure where you're saying the 4% with everything.
No.
I'm looking at 7.2
That's what I'm saying. It's a 7.2% increase.
for 2027. Yes.
And so that's the one I'm talking about. My suggestion is when you come back to the board, I would like to see a couple of rate scenarios where if you were to increase 0.25% and 0.5% lower than what 7.2% is. If you can show those scenarios.
Beginning of this rate setting process, Metropolitan is now nowhere near finalizing their rates. So we sort of need to wait till they get theirs finalized before we can really move forward. At the next board meeting, I'm going to hopefully have a little more information.
Okay.
It may not be until April when their board finally passes the rates, like on the 10th or 13th, I think. Okay, that we're going to actually get to where they're at. And until that time, it's
Whenever it's appropriate.
Right.
I would like to see a couple more scenarios lower than whatever you're projecting, I want to see what the fund balances be under those 10 scenarios, how fund balances change.
Okay, well, we will work on doing something.
Okay, thank you.
And my part of the question was just to have Dan walk us through his chart a little bit.
This chart here?
The third one with the untreated rate, just the red lines that you noted.
Okay, so this was actually part of, I think, one of the slides that I did as a presentation to the board. Again, so basically, this is kind of walking through how we get to our rates at this point based on the original assessment. I mean, this was really early. I haven't even put in our budget yet on this. So this would just kind of give an idea of where the rates were going at this time, looking at those two 9.5% increases were coming from Metropolitan on their first initial proposal. Although they're saying the rate was going up by 9.5%, their untreated rate to us, the untreated rate's going up 10.6. That's that first very top line for 2027 based on that original proposal. But the treated water surcharge, the variable side, is actually decreasing on the variable side by 29.3%. So overall, when you put those two together, the treated water charge that's a variable rate is actually decreasing for us in 2027 by 3.8%. However, there is also a fixed charge now for the treated water. And that has a rate of about $142 per acre foot when you just do the math. When I divide it by the number of potential I'm looking for as our water sales for next fiscal year. When you put that in with everything, the Met's rate for us is going up a combined of 7.57%. So it's going to be well below that 9.5%. When you put in our increases, so our per acre foot, that includes our construction and our O&M, and this was my original in the long range finance plan. It's not tied to the budget yet, so I am still working on the budget numbers. We were looking at about a 4.9% increase to fund what we needed to fund. I am looking to increase the capacity charge by about 15% because we got the Las Virgenes interconnection, which is one of our emergency assets to allow us to get emergency water if we need it. With that, that's going to go up about 15% just for that rate. But overall, the entire all-in Calleguas rate's going up by 6%. When you combine the Met increase and the Calleguas increase, that's how we get to the 7.2% increase for 2027.
Dan, Metropolitan is proposing a reduction of 29.8% on the treatment surcharge. However, they're increasing the fixed charges.
Yes.
So if you look at the net amount, I was looking at this morning, 29 point is about $11.3 million reduction. If you just look in dollar amount, how much would be total increase in fixed charges? Is it washout?
Total fixed charges, we're looking at about 10.4, I think.
So there's about.
It's very similar. It is a little bit of a decrease, and that was also on the original slide. That's not, we don't put that in here. There is a decrease in that, and then it goes back up in 2028 a little bit.
I saw that.
When you combine them.
So really, it decreases on about less than $1 million, I think, between the two.
Right. It's just, this was something, the treated water fixed charges was something we were advocating for because it allows all of the agencies to have a better, all the member agencies with Metropolitan have a better input into what's going on. And some of those that peak in the off season will have to pay some of these peaking charges as a fixed charge.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Henry.
No, thank you, Henry.
Started up with Dan's chart in.
Hey. Good move. Up next, we have item, it's gonna be 42.
I had a question, just how does this work? Conditional to go or no go? That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, so we submitted 2 applications to SCE. One has received conditional approval and basically saying the clock starts to get the project done. The trick is we have 2 applications because we are planning on installing 2 systems. And the plan is to work towards getting a bid set, ready to call for bids. But we haven't gotten the conditional approval for that second application. But all indications show that our first application was well received. We're just waiting for SE to get to that second application. Unfortunately, it did not make it right behind that first application in the queue. We were checking in with SE if they have any questions, haven't heard back, but we're just waiting on SE at this point.
Great. So it's good news to know that you're not in limbo with the additional needs. Think about it.
No, correct. So the clock starts for us to get the project done. The final confirmation that we are approved is when we show performance of the project that it is completed. So basically, this is the start of the clock so we can get the project completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the same funding though. The money is coming from the same grant, correct?
As CHIP funding, yes, it's
But why are there two applications then if it's the same?
there's two separate, we have two service connections to the well field.
Got it. Okay, two service connection.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Fernando. I have one. Item 52, Associate Project Manager attended Calleguas. I'm wondering, what did we get from attending that conference? Any new technologies that could be put to use in the future or anything interesting?
No.
No.
Director McMillan was also there.
Okay.
It was just basically the same old technology. All that we're doing is just showing the news sites where some of these were going in. So I was kind of bummed that they didn't come up with something different. And there was a lot of emphasis on the ocean well, and but that was it.
Good to go. Was that your same perspective?
So our associate project manager had similar perspective. A lot of discussion on ocean well, and technologies are still being discussed and tested out, but nothing new that was earth shaking. She found that it was informative and well worth attending for her personal benefit, but nothing that was new to this field.
Got it. Good. Maybe next year. All right. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Director McMillan. Okay, up next we have 53, the S&P. And 54. 53 and 54.
Yeah, 53 was simple question about it. So there's no discharges going out right now?
North Pleasant Valley is still discharging.
Okay, thank you. And 54. Wanted to know what the positive impact results are for giant kelp, sea urchin, and top smelt.
So we're monitoring the toxicity.
Yeah.
And it's just part of our permit. So this is like the first sampling stage of that. Don't have enough information to give you on that until we get the results back.
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for is that, you know, when we tested for toxicity, it was fatheads, serum dap. So I'm just looking at, to me, it was simple back then. It was a kill rate, whereas this is a plant, kelp.
It's a growth rate thing on the kelp.
It's a growth rate.
Yeah. That's my recollection from doing the permit. Let's be clear, it was 15 years
Sea urchin, the same,
or more.
sea urchin, the same thing.
Yeah, my recollection is depending on the species, there's either mortality, growth, or sometimes both.
I could see that.
But you know what, the best thing to do is we'll consult with Amy and get you a detailed response.
Okay.
Rather than me speculating on what I remember from
Because the kelp thing,
really 20 years ago.
I need to tell about kelp. That's, can see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Up next, we have item 64. That's going to be Control Systems Instrumentation Technician Sean Crane passed the State Water Resource Control Board Water Treatment Operator Grade 2 examination. Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll
He's not here today, but we will have him at another meeting. Yes.
Good note on that one. Up next, and the last one is item 72.
It's just a request that next time when SMP tour is conducted, I would like to join.
I thought it might be a little intimidating for the interns to have a board member join them.
Okay.
Also, it was while you were in Asia.
Of course, I wasn't here.
Yeah, you weren't here. So yes, we will still work on that. we're talking about how to do it on a larger scale. We're just
Okay.
not there yet.
I gotta know, it is thrilling driving over the road saying, the S&P is right under us. This manhole cover, that's one of the S&P outfalls and, connections, and that's it.
Well, it's a tag. It's a tag.
Yeah.
It's not so
The
far.
interns, I focused it a little more. We took them to the outfall, which obviously you can't see unless you're diving, but you can see where it is. We took them to the control tank and they toured Round Mountain desalter, Camarosa's facility. So
Oh, okay, it sounds like they just left stuff out when they toured me for the S&P.
Ah,
That makes things much better. Thank you very much. All right.
Well, it's good to see the distances involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I think that is really interesting because you realize how much pipe we put in the ground.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I was thinking of, having looked at the historic construction costs, is how much more expensive it would be to construct today. I think our outfall will cost 3 times now what it did when we built it
Wow.
in 2011-ish.
Time is money.
And it is. That it is.
Thank you, everyone. Great reports, great items in there today. And again, thank you all for everything you do. And up next, we have the January 2026 financial statements. Dan Smith.
All right, good evening, Director. We have the January 26 financial statements. Kind of just walking through the water sales. You can see that we are still behind. We did make a little bit up in January, and I haven't looked at the February numbers as of yet, but can't expect them to be all that great. We did get some rain this month. But overall, we're short by about 3,000 acre feet right now, which does lead us to the fact that we are a little bit under our net revenues when we take the revenues minus the cost of the water. We're short by about $1.2 million. It's better than what we expected it to be because of the fact that we're actually using some of the groundwater as we're pumping the water out of Lake Bard and out of
We're not using groundwater, we're using stored imported water.
imported. You're right. Stored imported of the well field and just surface water also.
Stored imported water that we stored in Lake Bard. A little bit of rain bonus.
Exactly. So overall, looking also at the admin expenses, you can see that we're about $3 million under budget on the admin side. Most of that's the consulting and outside services, which are saving us a little bit of money. Just we haven't started some of the projects or gotten as far as we thought we would. Taxes and interest continue to be ahead of budget by $2.2 million. A lot of that is the interest. There's a little bit of taxes in there as well. We're ahead in both categories at this point. When we're looking at the operating income, because of that savings, we are actually ahead of where we thought we'd be by about $4 million. So that's actually good news for us because that's doing much better than we had anticipated. And then the principal and interest, we are definitely right on line where we should be. Actually, a little bit of savings as the interest rates, the variable interest rate has gone down. We're paying about a little over 1% right now on our $40 million bonds. Looking at the power pumping revenue, this is the one that's jumped out at me this month. You can see that we went way over budget. You're going to see that on the slide in the next screen. That is actually partly because we've been doing a lot of pumping out of the well field, out of Lake Bard, using the plants. And with that, it's costing us a little more to do the pumping power. The other thing that's happened is that Southern California Edison has taken a look at our account for past 2 years and said that they had been mischarging us for the, yeah, I know. I'm kind of shocked at that one themselves, but they were saying that the peak times that they were using were wrong. And so we were getting a better rate than we should have, and they came back and reassessed us and to the tune of almost $250,000. So that's one reason that this number has jumped up so high so fast. Now, we paid the bills because it's better for us to pay them than pay them late and then get assessed and penalties and interest and all of that. So we've paid it. We are still looking at it and assessing it ourselves. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of different meters that we have to look at, but we are in conversations with Southern California at this time. Pumping power revenue is right where it pretty much should be. And depending on where this other thing is, that does affect some of this. So our pumping revenue could go up. We may have to pass some of these costs onto our purveyors, but we have not totally determined that yet. Utility power still continues to be right where it's coming in on a monthly basis now and where we expect it to be. All of this over budget happened in the beginning when we had an extra plant run. But now it's running, it's the utility power is coming or we expect it to be. You can see that in these numbers here that the pumping power expense is way above budget, probably going to hit our budget amount relatively soon. It's probably going to be over budget for this year now because of those big hits. And utility power has already hit our budget, but we've been talking about that for months now. Looking for the snapshot for January, you can see that overall January wasn't a bad month. We actually did sell more water than we anticipated, giving us additional revenue. The savings was actually a little more than we anticipated because of the fact that we were using that stored water out of the well field instead of buying the water from Met. So that actually saves us money some when we do that. There's about a $400 difference between what's in the well field and what we buy from Met. So there's some savings there for us. The non-operating revenues and expenses, that $1.2 million that you see up there, is really has to do with property taxes. One of our property tax payments came in January and we had budgeted it in December. So we look good this month because it came in the wrong month. That was a county issue. And then capital related expenses, we have a little bit of savings there this month. So overall, we had a really good month. We should have been at a negative 773,000 as far as revenues, expenses over revenues. Instead, we had a positive $1.45 million. So we did really well. Looking at the overall cash, you can see that's also reflected a little bit here. We only dropped about $1 million and $2 million was an abnormal payment. Not abnormal, it's a different payment that we make twice a year. That $2 million you can see in the restricted investments decreased interest payments that we made. The rest of the cash you can see actually increased for the month. Looking at these financial ratios, you'll see that the first two definitely increased, ticked up. A lot of that had to do with the liabilities actually decreasing because we made those interest payments, which was a payable that disappeared for the month of January. Same thing sort of goes with the debt ratio. That improved because we have less liabilities as we paid some of down that interest payable. The debt service coverage and the times interest earned didn't change that much. It's still very strong. It's where it should be for this time of year. As for the next few months, you're going to see that tick down as we usually do have more expenses than the revenues at this point. With that, that's all I have, unless there are some additional questions.
Questions from the board?
No, thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Dan. Great job as always. Okay. Up next, we have report on Aqua Washington DC Conference, Charlotte Hallfield.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. Yeah. Okay, great. So as you all know, last week was the annual Association of California Water Agencies Washington DC Conference. So I'll be providing a recap of the conference. Feel free to chime in however you like. Here we go. So we had, this is the third time Calleguas has attended since starting in 2024. This year's participants included the full board, the deputy general manager, and myself. And it's a bit slow tonight. Let's see here. Okay. The purpose of the conference. So it's kind of multifold. There's featured speakers on federal issues, including the U.S. Forest Service chief who spoke to us. We had U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the American Farm Bureau. We heard directly from members and staff with the Congressional Speech Program. We, of course, had many Calleguas-only meetings with legislative and other offices. And of course, it's always a great opportunity for networking, sharing best practices, and information with other water agencies from around California. And on that note, there were approximately 75 participating agencies, including LADWP, Rancho Water, Eastern, Western, LA Sand, United, and Metropolitan. Not a complete list, but just some of the folks who were there. And diving in sort of to the program itself. So really a highlight of the Aqua Conference is the Congressional Speech Program. So this year that included U.S. Senator Adam Schiff, Congressman Ken Calvert from Riverside County, Congressman Jim Costa from Fresno County, as well as congressional staff members. So to move over to our Calleguas meetings, one of the highlights, I think, was visiting Congresswoman Julia Brownley's office for a ceremonial presentation to thank her for securing the earmark for us for the Lake Bard Pump Station. So as you know, your board passed a resolution, which we presented to her, as well as a framed watercolor of Lake Bard with a small metal inscription on it. I think she really appreciated it. And it was just a very nice visit with her office. After that meeting, we separated into different groups so as to be Brown Act cognizant. And this meeting with Congressman Salud Carbajal included President Avila and Director Quady. The congressman doesn't directly represent the Calleguas service area. He's adjacent to it. There will be a future connection with the Ventura interconnection. So he's interested in that project and he's helped secure funding for it. Some of the key discussion points we talked about with him was just giving him an update on the interconnection, the need for investment in water infrastructure in general. And as a Marine Corps veteran, he's very interested in veterans issues. So we talked with him about our workforce development efforts in this area. And I want to thank Candace and Jen Vasquez for providing information in that regard. This was the first year we'd met with Congressman Ken Calvert's staff. Congressman Calvert is a key appropriator for water infrastructure projects. He is the third most senior member of the House of Representatives, and we met with his legislative director. It was a good meeting. We got a lot in a short amount of time, but that was a meeting where we kind of had to give a Calleguas overview, talk about the drought a little bit, what we've been doing since then, express our appreciation to the tens of millions of dollars he has brought back to California for funding for water infrastructure. We let him know we would be putting in an earmark request for the Smith Road tank. And as someone else who's very interested in veterans issues, we also conveyed information about our efforts in that area, which he appreciated. So U.S. Senator Adam Schiff spoke to the group as a whole, as you'll recall. He's fairly new to the Senate, having been elected in 2024. And I just thought it was quite remarkable, the contrast between last year when he spoke to our group and this year. Last year, he came into the room with our water agencies and said, tell me what I need to know about water. I don't know a whole lot. This year, it was really remarkable and striking to see the growth and advocacy in this area. He is well aware of the many pots of funding for water infrastructure. He is quite involved in PFAS remediation funding. And we had a really good follow-up meeting with his key person on water policy of his staff. And we talked about a variety of issues, including water system cybersecurity. We let him know about our fantastic IT team here and what they do to keep us safe from hackers, because he actually held a hearing on that very subject of water system cybersecurity vulnerabilities. And after that meeting, his staff just shared with us that he was quite concerned. So we shared with his staff that we are doing everything we can here at Calleguas to address those potential threats. He's very interested in desalting projects, ocean water and brackish water infrastructure and PFAS, as I mentioned. His staff asked for more information about what we do in Ventura County with desalting projects, which we'll be happy to provide. And as I mentioned, we shared our IT department's laser focus on cybersecurity. So U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, we were able to meet with a very senior member of his team who was a very important staff member to Senator Feinstein for 20 plus years. This person, John Watts, has been involved in water policy in California for a very, very long time and was an advisor to the senator on those policies for a very long time as well. And one of the first things that John said to us when we sat down with him, he said, was that Senator Padilla really cares about water. And I think it's quite evident that he does. He has two pieces of legislation that deal with water. The More Water Act, having to do with water recycling and conveyance, and the Grow Smart Act, which will introduce market incentives into water management. He continues to be very concerned about low-income rate assistance programs and is pushing for federal funding. That is an issue that he is not letting go of. We're glad to hear that. And again, this was a meeting where we kind of gave a Calleguas overview. We talked about the SMP, the regional desalter effort, amongst other issues. But it was a really, really good meeting. And then I think this is the last one, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. We met with a couple of staff members there, again, giving them a Calleguas overview, what we've done to address local reliability since the drought. We talked about the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project and their interrelationship, and that federal investment in water projects are critical, which is really a message we carried to each one of our meetings. We also talked about Ventura County agriculture and groundwater. Some of the takeaways from there is that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act still has funding for desalting projects. Partnerships are key, and they recommended connecting with our local area office in Temecula, which I think we've done to some degree, but good idea to probably re-up in that area. And then these are my overall takeaways. I'm sure you have others, but I observed that water continues to be a nonpartisan issue, one of the few in Washington, D.C., and that our two U.S. senators, Schiff and Padilla, are informed advocates for water infrastructure funding and innovation. Congresswoman Brownlee continues to be supportive. Her staff encouraged us to apply for another earmark this year, and that earmark funding opportunities continue to be available, which is good. They were gone for a long time, but it looks like they're back here to stay. In my opinion, the value of the experience in part is that the opportunity to share our priorities and projects with members and see where they align and we align. FaceTime with policymakers is important, and the effort is noted. And last but not least, swag and the challenge coins. People just really appreciated the effort that we made to bring those things. It makes us memorable when they continue to see something with the Calleguas brand on their desk or on their wall. So I want to really thank Kat for coordinating all of those things. It was a lot that we brought around, but it was worth it. And I certainly want to thank Kara for all of the coordination and details, large and small, that you handled to make this a successful trip. So thank you, Kara. And with that, the next steps are continuing to write our thank you notes, continuing to follow up, maintaining the current relationships that we have, nurturing the new ones we established on this trip, and tracking the earmark that we submitted yesterday for the Smith Road tank. Thank you, Fernando, for your help with that. So yeah, we're going at it again. And with that, that's my conclusion, and just thank you all for your participation and energy and enthusiasm throughout the trip.
And if I can, speak before the directors, I want to thank Ian and Charlotte for all the hard work they did in preparing for this and executing this and following up. I know it's a very hectic, intense week, and the rest of the work continues to pile up. So I really appreciate them putting all the effort in that they've done.
They're here.
Absolutely. That's stole the words out of.
Sorry,
I was gonna say.
next time I'll let you talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everything you guys did to prepare for it, it showed. Everything was well organized. We were well prepared, and thank you. And absolutely thank you, Kat, and the rest of the staff who helped out as well. There are comments from board members.
I see it as an athletic event. We did so much preparation in advance of that. But that's where the glory is. So, I mean, thank you all.
Absolutely.
That's really something. All the went in ahead of time. And then everything else is probably great to release yourself.
But hopefully, like last year, it all pays off and we get some more earmarks. Right? That's what it's about.
Yeah, that to me,
Projects.
yeah, to me, that's what the surprising great success was with the Brownlee thing, because that was persistence. Just have to keep going back, and that's a new thing for me to realize, so.
Yeah. Charlotte, as you know, this was my first time I went to DC with the Calleguas team. And you have done a fabulous job of organizing, contacting the people ahead of time, keeping us busy every day.
Yes.
You told us exactly where to be at what time. We were there.
We're there. You were there.
And the people we saw, they really received well. And making contacts and having the relationship that will serve us for a long time. And then we should continue to do what we're doing so that we can get more money for our capital projects in
Yes.
Ventura County.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think we did discuss though, one thing was, for future trips, is it worth going during the Aqua event, or is it worth during our own time when we could schedule all our own meetings and,
Right.
talk with all our representatives about those earmarks and how we could collaborate better. The Aqua Conference is great, but is it worth an extra, cost for each board member to attend? So something to consider for the future, but. Matt.
And I just want to add that, great recap, great
Yeah.
recap. And I did talk to Lyle afterwards too, and I said, one of the things that I thought was really great was in that speaker's slot where he had the panel of the,
Oh, yeah.
what would you call
AIDS.
it? The aides, but I mean, they're really.
Committee members,
Yes.
appropriation
They're
committee
really-
members.
Yeah.
Three committees members.
That conversation was, a lot of it was over my head because they were talking about open processes, all the different places where, well, they might get stopped in this process, but we gotta go over here. And they have all these different places where there starts and stops on what they had to do
Right.
when they were collaborating. It's like, that's an eye opener.
Yes, it is. How they navigate the process and the obstacles that they encounter. It's, yeah, people don't see that part of it.
And they're very technical, so it's enjoyable that way.
Great. Great.
Okay,
Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
any other questions or comments, Director McMillan?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, up next, we have one that I am very excited about, and it's my favorite, corrosion and corrosion prevention.
All right.
Omar.
Thank you, board. I'm going to present today, give you an update on our painting and coatings task force. And it says coating for strength and painting for longevity. That is true to everything we need to do. We have so many exposed metal surfaces, valves, and so forth. And some of them are in nice environments, some of them are in harsh environments. So staff is doing a fantastic job. But to give you a program timeline, back in July of 2025, the board approved us being able to reclass the position to be able to bring forward a person who will be focused on being a champion of the task force and spearheading the painting and coatings portion of that. In July, we also started the recruitment for it. We were able to do an internal recruitment. And then on August 2025, Ron Flores was selected as our senior maintenance crew leader for paint and coatings. And he's, so one of the things we did once we got Ronnie on board, we said, okay, we need to start looking at some standards. And to do that, we needed to develop some SOPs to make sure that how any team preps the pipe and how any team does coatings on the pipe is uniform. So we developed that SOP. And then we looked at how do we assess our system? What are some of the critical areas? We started coming up with, we developed a checkbox so we know how we can rank these areas so that as we move forward, we're able to address zones by their criticality. And then the final is we had to look at what product are we going to use? We need to get a standard. So with Ronnie and Matt, we looked at the different types of coatings that we are using. We looked at kind of the industry standards, and then we looked at the AMP standards and also what Met was using. And with that, we came away with the Armorlock product, which is a two-part paint. Although it's not as easy to work with, it really lasts a lot longer in different environments. And a lot of oil fields and places that have harsh environments are utilizing the Armorlock product as well. So, and then to further that, we have to figure out how are we going to get not just the lead person trained, we got to get the rest of our staff up to speed on some of these. So to kind of speed that up, we took a trip out to Metropolitan where they have their manufacturing facility where they are actually doing painting, coatings, baking. They mill their own pipe. It's pretty impressive to walk through there and see everything they do. It's far more grandiose than, the size of what we're going to do. but understanding what their standards are and how they apply and how they bake some of their products to remove the oil, so you have that adherence. So we sent a group of team members down there. We also have Ronnie, who completed the first phase of the AMP project, which is the phase one of the products and coatings specialist. And once again, big round of applause for completing that. It's not that it's difficult to get into, it's difficult to time it when it's in this area, because it's not just in the United States, it's kind of everywhere. So when we can hit it pretty close, we're gonna make sure that we take advantage of those training and certification opportunities. So looking at our progress in motion, right? Preserving infrastructure with diligence and pride. These are some, snapshots of our staff, showing that dedication, showing that, we really care about that infrastructure. We want to create that longevity. And the first picture that you see there is actually up at the above Lake Bard in our park area. We have a lot of pipes up there. We want to make sure that they're coated correctly and aesthetically pleasing. The other two, those are, when we start getting into some of these more difficult areas, we're working in confined spaces. So it's takes a little bit more to get involved with those manways that we have there, because it's not just one person entering. We have to have a team outside or an additional person monitoring while that's going on, and lowering equipment and making sure that we have good ventilation going through there.
On that third picture, was that pitting from corrosion?
The third, no, it's actually what the, it's not,
Looks to me like roughening to make it adhere properly, surface prep.
correct. So it's before the paint, you're going to see a coating. So some of it's zinc, but remember that these aren't all, it could be whether it's ductile iron and not a steel cover.
Okay.
So it could have a different surface. So
Yeah, that's the Amerlock they're applying there.
correct. And these are some before and after pictures. And this one is at the pumps for the wash water recovery basin. They were in need of some love, some attention. Yeah, they're not covered. They're outside all the time. But with that, we also realized that not only did we need to paint and coat this area, we also replaced a few valves that were in there as well. And then we came up with the uniformity of the motor color to the piping color. And this is in the pipe galley.
The one that got started at all?
This is our maiden voyage. But with that, when we have areas that the metal is impacted, then we do a zinc coating, allow that to cure, make sure it's a flat surface, and then complete with the Armorlock paint. Once again, when you look behind there and there's this multi-million-dollar home. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining our infrastructure. So whether it's, here at the plant or out in the system, what they see is what they're going to think of Calleguas. So our staff is diligently working to find these areas. Sometimes we get calls and we want to make sure that we're protecting that. So it's not just the painting and coatings, then they're putting up ballards to make sure that nobody backs through there and hits that as well. And this is discharge piping that runs from the pumps that we saw a few slides back that actually discharges into the basin, into the wash water recovery basin. That was pitted really bad. So staff took it all the way down. It's a lot of prep. It's a lot of grinding. It's a lot of sanding to make sure that we get to that clean surface. Because as you know, Director, if you don't have a good base for it, if you don't start with that maintenance and that prep, your coatings just aren't going to last as long.
We own a needle gun yet?
Do we own needle guns?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to look at what environment we can use certain tools in as well. All right. So our next step, as we mentioned, we're going to continue with the AMP coding application specialist level 2, once we can get it closer to this area. And then the cathodic protection, because it's not just about the coatings, we have to make sure that whether it's anodes or whether we have rectifiers, making sure that we're collecting that data and responding to it. And then we want to develop a GIS map so that we can make sure that we're tracking the areas and how we progress through instead of just spot hitting, even though we will do that condition assessment and try to figure out what is the most critical area, but then to get on that routine maintenance schedule so we're constantly moving throughout the district as well. And then on top of that, we want to make sure that everything we do integrates with a work order system so we can track how much time we're spending on the projects themselves, but also we track all the material and everything else in City Works. And then at the end of the year, we can pull a report for that. And then we want to continue and train and develop our teams. And that's from anybody who moves from the task force, or we end up with new employees, making sure that everybody's trained the same way. So we, have that constant type of work product and follow our SOPs. That's it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. Do we have first off, thank you, Ronnie. Congratulations, and keep up the good work. It looks beautiful. Hey, do we have questions or comments from the board?
Looks good. The finished work looks very good.
I was just wondering if you have specific areas that have certain risks associated with that corrosion. So like you have certain areas where there are cathodic risks, and then you have other areas that are probably free of it. And you don't consider that part, but it's still maybe an environmental risk of some other type, whether it's moisture environment or.
Yeah, and we will uncover those things through that condition assessment as we keep going. And obviously we use the cathodic protection side for everything that's buried, right? Things that we can't see. So we kind of get an idea of what's happening on that steel cylinder based off of the readings we get from the rectifier, or based off of the amount of resistance or what's left off the anodes. Not really going to get a whole lot more information than that. And then if you find anything, then you're usually excavating and trying to figure out, we would bring in a consultant, right? To try to figure out, is this something from straight current? Is it soil? Is it just exterior, right? But as far as the harsh environment, anything that's, within that confined space area depends on where it's at. The closer we get to the ocean, say, the more impact it's going to have. So when we say we develop that map, it could be that some areas, instead of saying we're going to try to hit this every 5 years, some of those might be target areas to say we know they're going to have a quicker impact because of the environment. So I would say anything on the SMP is going to be a priority.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have a general counsel's report. This evening. Okay, up next, we have a committee meeting reports, and we had a finance committee.
We did, and our manager of finance will be reporting out on that meeting from yesterday.
So we did meet yesterday for the finance committee, and we went over some of the options that we are looking at doing based on the purveyor input. We talked about, there were 2 options for the fixed charge. We talked about the allocation, options for the allocation, as well as the phase-in process that we're looking at putting for our fixed charges. There were also 2 other options we were looking at adding: the rate stabilization fund, as well as some drought rates. And the finance committee made a recommendation. I will be bringing it all back to the board on the 18th.
Oh, exciting. Any questions, comes from the board? Director Capella?
I was not able to attend the meeting. So you said the 2 stabilization, one is drought stabilization, one is rate. Is that what you said?
No, I said we're doing a rate stabilization. We're looking at a rate stabilization fund and including that in the cost of service study. And we're also looking at
drought rates. That's okay.
Rates, so that we would actually possibly increase a rate during the drought when we issue a drought issue. But it's far from finished. We are just starting discussions and trying to figure out how we would try to do this.
Any other questions about the committee? All right, thank you, Dan. Appreciate the update. And up next, we have director's list of admin code reimbursable meetings. Starting with Director Quady.
On the 19th of February, I went to Waterline briefly. So half an hour before it started, then went off to the VCREA meeting. And then later in the day, meeting with the general manager. On the 20th, Aqua Region 8 board meeting and orientation. That was by Zoom. And then the Washington DC 223 through the 26th. And then on March 2nd, Aqua Zoom worked on the Region 8 work plan. And today, listened in on a Aqua reporters session and tonight's board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director Quady. Director Bacala?
Since my last board meeting, I have attended Harvey's meeting on January 22nd. I attended Aqua conference in Washington, DC. Oh, that's after, sorry. I also attended Southern California Water Coalition in Arcadia, and today's board meeting. 3 meetings I attended.
Okay, thank you, Director Bacala.
I'm sorry, I forgot that I was at the finance committee meeting.
Finance committee meeting yesterday.
You were on that committee.
Director McMillan?
Yes, on the 19th, I attended the Delta Finance Authority Board meeting and the Delta Construction Authority Board meeting in Sacramento. On the 20th, I had meetings with DCDCA staff and lobbyists. On the 20th, I also attended the Region 8 board meeting at Metropolitan. On March the 2nd, the Legal and Claims Planning meeting via Zoom. For Calleguas, on February the 23rd through the 27th, I attended the Aqua DC Legislative Days and meetings with various offices. And I'll have to correct this. I have February listed below, but those should be March. So I'll be getting our secretary a corrected report. But on March the 3rd, CSDA's Public Records update via Zoom. On the 4th, a women's luncheon at Agora Hills Recreation Center, and then tonight's board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director McMillan. Director Robert?
Sure.
I was debating whether I should go first to give you extra time.
No, I'm ready. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate it. Since the last board meeting, I did a refund scam training online on the 19th. Aqua DC conference, the 23rd through the 26th of February, and tonight's board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director Robert. For myself, since the last board meeting, I attended the Aqua DC conference 23 through 27, and tonight's board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Up next, we have a discussion regarding upcoming meetings to be attended by the board. I think I do have one for Friday. It's the ad hoc housing committee. We're gonna go check out some of the potential homes. Exciting. Anything else from?
I like they call them homes, not houses.
Well, there's more than one. Well, either one, either way. Director Bacala.
Yeah. I'm planning to attend GMA PAC meeting on March 5th. Also on March 12th, the Waterwork District 1 and 19 advisory committee members and some of the water customers will be coming to Calleguas for a tour of Calleguas facilities.
Did you say PAC on the 5th? I don't.
12th.
Oh, 12th. Okay.
3-5 was PAC. 3-12 is Waterwork District 1 and 19.
I don't think there is a PAC meeting on the 5th.
fact, the 5th got canceled.
Huh?
The meeting on the 5th got canceled.
Oh, it's canceled. Thank you for letting me know. But what about 1 and 19?
That is on.
Okay. On March 13th, GMA board meeting and March 17th, GMA TAC meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director Bacala. All right.
I have this Friday, I'm attending the Conejo Chamber of Commerce, it's an economic briefing, I guess. And I'm sorry I didn't do the work, but I do have some other AQUA meetings coming up next week.
Thank you, Director Quady. Okay, do we have a request for future agenda items? Board comments? Okay.
One comment. Apologize for being late. I had a conflict, but I wanted to be here for as much as I could anyways.
Thank you for the board comment. Up next, information item, it's just the informational items, Calleguas letter to Delta Stewardship Council.
Yeah, and this is, just to give the board a little bit of background, is one of the actions that has to be taken to move the Delta Conveyance Project forward is a certification with the Delta Plan. The Department of Water Resources, as the project proponent, can self-certify, but the Delta parties can appeal to the Delta Stewardship Council. So that's what happened. DWR self-certified. Yes, the DCP is compliant with the Delta Plan. A number of entities, cities, tribes, other groups, environmental groups said, expressed concerns to the Delta Stewardship Council, filed appeals. There was a 2-day hearing last Thursday and Friday. We submitted this written comment in support of DWR's certification with the Delta Plan, as well as I made a public comment on Friday virtually, repeating our support. The key points that we're trying to make are that we have made significant investments to reduce our demands on the Delta through conservation, through use of local supplies, and the criticality of the Delta conveyance to ensure our future water supply reliability and resilience. So we communicated those messages through this letter, as well as 2 minutes of public comment, along with many, many of our other fellow water agencies, Metropolitan, many other Metropolitan member agencies, and various other water agencies throughout the state that receive water from State Water Project. Of course, there were a number of speakers who disagree with that, and they were well represented as well. The process from no decision was rendered. I believe it's a 60-day clock that started, after which the Delta Stewardship Council has to render a decision about whether to uphold DWR's self-certification or agree with the appellants who oppose that certification. So it's a pretty complex process.
Very, very complex. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for putting time into that. It's a very important topic. Lastly, we have, do we have a need for closed session?
No.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.